Jack Harper looked out the viewing window as the ship approached the Ziraxian homeworld. The planet glowed with blue-green light, its 3 moons creating shadows across the surface. As the lead xenobiologist on the research vessel Orion, this moment was everything he had worked for. Nervous, Lisa Warren asked as she joined him at the window. Her dark hair was pulled back in a tight bun, her communication specialist uniform crisp and perfect. Excited, Jack said, running a hand through his short brown hair. First humans to make contact with the Ziraxians. Hard to believe we're here. Captain Olivia Mitchell's voice came over the intercom. All diplomatic team members report to the briefing room. We begin descent in 30 minutes. Jack took one last look at the alien world below. At 32, he never imagined he would represent humanity on such an important mission. Earth had only recently joined the Galactic Confederation, and this was their first independent diplomatic venture. In the briefing room, Captain Mitchell stood before a holographic display of the landing zone. Her stern face showed the weight of responsibility. "Remember your training," she said. "The Ziraxians are an insectoid species with a complex hive society. They value order, hierarchy, and precision. We expect to meet with high-level representatives, not the Queen herself." Security Chief Greg Patterson checked his non-lethal weapons. "Intel says they're peaceful, but stay alert. Their technology is far beyond ours," Mitchell continued. "We're here to establish friendly relations and hopefully gain access to their medical advances." Cultural liaison Samantha Cole added, "Remember, no physical contact. Ziraxians communicate through body posture and their natural bioluminescence. Maintain formal distance at all times." Jack nodded, mentally reviewing everything he knew about Ziraxian biology. Their exoskeletons contained light-producing cells that created complex patterns, their primary form of emotional expression. When the Orion landed, Jack's heart beat faster. This was history in the making. The team walked down the ramp in perfect formation, Captain Mitchell leading with Greg and Samantha behind her. Jack and Lisa followed, with 3 other crew members completing the group. What greeted them was unexpected. Instead of a small welcoming party, hundreds of Ziraxians lined a grand path leading to the royal palace. Their 8-foot frames stood in perfect rows, their exoskeletons glowing with synchronized blue patterns. "Something's different," Samantha whispered. "This is a royal welcome formation, not what we were told to expect." Jack noticed it too. The patterns in their briefing materials showed nothing like this. The central path remained empty, and a low humming vibration filled the air. Then she appeared. Queen Selvora stood nearly 12 feet tall, her exoskeleton shimmering with brilliant gold and purple light patterns. 4 arms moved with elegant precision as she walked toward them, her segmented eyes reflecting the sunlight. 2 smaller Ziraxians flanked her, their postures indicating high status. The Queen herself, Captain Mitchell whispered, shocked. "This is unprecedented." Jack couldn't look away. The Queen's bioluminescent patterns shifted in complex ways, displaying emotions their human eyes could barely comprehend. His scientific mind raced, analyzing every detail. When the Queen stopped before them, the entire gathering went silent. She lowered her upper torso in what their briefings indicated was a gesture of highest respect. Captain Mitchell responded with a formal bow. "We bring greetings from Earth and the human species." Through a translator device, the Queen's clicking language came through as a melodic female voice. "We welcome the humans to Zirax. Your journey honors us." As formal introductions began, Jack found himself directly in the Queen's line of sight. Her compound eyes focused on him, and her light patterns changed to a swirling blue-violet glow. Jack stood perfectly still as the Queen's gaze lingered on him. A ripple of shocked whispers spread through the Ziraxian court. He had no idea what it meant, but one thing was certain: this first contact was not going according to plan. The grand banquet hall sparkled with crystalline structures that caught and scattered light in all directions. Jack sat at the long table with the rest of the human team, trying not to stare at the strange foods placed before them. The Xeraxians did not sit but stood at raised platforms, their four arms moving with precise motions as they consumed nutrient gels. "Remember to eat something," Samantha whispered. "It's considered rude to leave your plate full." Jack nodded and carefully tasted a blue cube that had been marked safe for human consumption. It tasted like sweet potatoes mixed with cinnamon. Not unpleasant at all. Throughout the evening, he felt eyes watching him. Every time he looked up, Queen Selvora quickly turned away, her light patterns shifting to deep gold colors. Jack couldn't help but notice her massive form towered over the other Xeraxians. Her exoskeleton had intricate carved patterns that none of the others displayed. "The Queen keeps looking at you," Lisa said quietly. "Did you do something during the welcome?" "Not that I know of," Jack replied, confused by the attention. Captain Mitchell was deep in conversation with a high-ranking Xeraxian official, her face serious as she discussed trade agreements. Greg watched the room with careful eyes, always alert for potential threats. Jack nearly jumped when Queen Selvora suddenly appeared beside their table. Her translator device hummed softly. "Xenobiologist Harper, your studies of non-human life forms interest me greatly. Would you share your knowledge of human customs?" The entire human team fell silent. Direct conversation with the Queen had not been expected. Jack stood carefully. "I would be honored, Your Majesty." The Queen's upper arms moved in a gesture he interpreted as pleasure. "Walk with me to the observation deck. The third moon rises soon." As Jack followed the towering Queen, Captain Mitchell gave him a warning look that clearly said, "Don't mess this up." On the observation deck, crystal windows revealed the night sky of Xerax. The planet's rings glowed faintly above them, and the third moon was just peeking over the horizon. "Your species fascinates me," Queen Selvora said. "You lack exoskeletons, have no bioluminescence, yet you have achieved space travel and created remarkable art and music. Different evolutionary paths can lead to similar achievements," Jack said, falling into his comfortable role as scientist. "Humans compensate for our physical limitations with tools and cooperation." "How do humans express friendship without light patterns?" the Queen asked. Jack smiled. "We use facial expressions, tone of voice, and physical contact. Handshakes for formal greetings, hugs between friends. Physical contact has meaning for your kind." The Queen's lights pulsed with curiosity. "Very much so. It builds trust and connection." Jack turned to see Samantha had quietly joined them, probably sent by Mitchell to supervise. "Show me this." "Handshake," the Queen requested. Jack demonstrated with Samantha, extending his hand and briefly shaking hers. The Queen watched with intense focus. "And the other one, the hug between friends." Jack hesitated. "That might not be appropriate for our first meeting." "I wish to understand humans fully," the Queen insisted, her lights becoming brighter. "Is it harmful?" "Not at all," Jack said. "It's just a brief embrace." Jack looked at Samantha, who gave a tiny shrug. No one had briefed them on this situation. "If it would help our cultural exchange," Jack said, stepping forward. Carefully, he extended his arms and gave the Queen the lightest, briefest hug possible around her lower torso, the only part he could reach comfortably. The effect was immediate and shocking. Queen Selvora's entire body lit up with brilliant white-blue light that nearly blinded everyone on the observation deck. The light pulsed outward in waves that seemed to shake the very air. Every Xeraxian in view froze in place. Some dropped to a kneeling position. When Jack stepped back, confused, Samantha's face had gone pale. The captain had rushed in, looking horrified. "What happened?" Jack whispered. "What did I do?" The Queen's lights had settled into a steady, pulsing purple glow. She raised all four arms in a gesture Jack couldn't interpret. "The human has chosen," she announced, her translator broadcasting the words throughout the palace. "And I have accepted." Jack barely had time to process what was happening before four Xeraxian royal guards surrounded him. Their exoskeletons glowed with fierce red patterns, but they moved with surprising gentleness as they escorted him away from the human delegation. "Wait, where are you taking him?" Captain Mitchell demanded, stepping forward. Queen Selvora raised one arm, stopping the captain in her tracks. "The chosen one must be prepared. It is our way." "Captain," Jack called over his shoulder, but the guards continued moving him through doorways and down long corridors. They brought him to a spacious chamber with high ceilings and walls that seemed to shimmer with faint light. The room held furniture sized for humans, clearly prepared in advance. A bed with soft covers, chairs, tables, and even books and data tablets. One guard spoke through a translator device. "These are the royal consort quarters. You will stay here until the ceremony." "Royal consort?" Jack's voice cracked. There must be some mistake. The guards bowed and left without answering, the door sealing behind them. Jack tried the door, locked. The windows showed a view of the palace gardens hundreds of feet below. He was effectively trapped. Hours passed before the door finally opened again. Samantha rushed in, her face a mixture of concern and disbelief. "Sam, thank goodness. What's going on? They won't let me leave, and no one will explain anything." Samantha sat heavily in one of the chairs. "Oh, Jack, you really don't know what you did, do you?" "I gave the Queen a hug. That's all." Jack paced the room. "How could that cause whatever this is?" In Xeraxian culture, physical contact is reserved exclusively for mate selection, Samantha explained slowly, especially embracing. It's their most sacred ritual. Jack stopped pacing. "What are you saying?" "By hugging the Queen, you participated in what they call the claiming. According to their laws, you are now her chosen mate." Samantha rubbed her temples, and she accepted very publicly. Jack felt the blood drain from his face. That's impossible. It was just a cultural demonstration. The Queen's advisors have been in emergency meetings with Captain Mitchell for hours. Earth Command has also been notified. Samantha looked exhausted. "They're ordering us to maintain diplomatic relations while they figure out a solution. Can't we just explain it was a misunderstanding?" Jack asked desperately. "It's not that simple. The Queen publicly declared you as her chosen one. If you reject her now, it would humiliate her before her entire empire. We could be looking at an interstellar incident." Jack sat down, trying to process the enormity of the situation. This can't be happening. The door opened again, and everyone stood as Queen Selvora entered. Without her royal guards, she seemed less intimidating, her light patterns softer and more subdued. "I request to speak with Jack Harper alone," she said. Samantha hesitated, then nodded and left the room. The Queen's massive form settled onto a reinforced bench designed for her species. Up close, Jack could see intricate patterns carved into her exoskeleton, telling stories he couldn't read. "You are troubled," she said, her lights shifting to gentle blue waves. "I am." Confused, Jack replied carefully. "On Earth, a hug doesn't mean what it apparently means here." The Queen's lights flickered in what might have been amusement. "I am aware of this cultural difference." Jack blinked in surprise. "You knew?" "I have studied humans extensively since your species joined the Galactic Confederation. I knew the gesture had different meaning for you." Her lights shifted to deeper blue. "Yet I accepted it in our way." "But why?" "Xeraxian queens rarely find compatible mates. Something in your neurological patterns resonates with mine. I sensed it the moment you arrived." She leaned closer. "I could release you from this commitment, Jack Harper, but it would diminish my authority among rival hives. My enemies would use it against me." Jack realized he was caught in a political web far more complex than a simple misunderstanding. After a sleepless night, Jack made his decision. He would temporarily accept his role as the Queen's chosen one while Earth diplomats worked on a solution. If nothing else, it gave him an unprecedented opportunity to study Xeraxian society from the inside. "I'll stay," he told Captain Mitchell during their morning meeting. At least until we find a way out that doesn't cause a diplomatic crisis. Mitchell nodded grimly. Earth Command agrees. They've officially made you our cultural ambassador to the Xeraxian royal court. That's one way to put it, Jack said with a weak smile. Later that morning, Queen Selvora introduced Jack to Kizeri, a smaller Xeraxian with green-blue markings. Kizeri is of the drone caste, but serves as my diplomatic advisor. She will teach you our ways. Kizeri bowed slightly. It is an honor to guide the Queen's chosen. For the next 3 days, Kizeri led Jack through the massive hive palace. They visited gardens where strange plants changed colors with the movement of the moons, libraries filled with crystal data storage, and workshops where Xeraxians crafted incredible technology. The Queen is not just our ruler, Kizeri explained as they watched workers tend to giant mushroom-like structures. She is the biological keystone of our society. Her pheromones help regulate the development of all castes. So she's like the mother of everyone. Jack asked. Not exactly. She produces the royal line, but worker reproduction happens independently. Her biological presence creates harmony. Kizeri's lights shifted to a concerned pattern. That is why her interest in a non-Xeraxian has caused such trouble. Jack stopped walking. What kind of trouble? Kizeri hesitated. Some conservative factions believe the Queen has been influenced by outside forces. They fear change. As they continued their tour, Jack noticed subtle signs of tension. Some Xeraxians dimmed their lights when he passed. Others made gestures he couldn't interpret. In the central communication hub, Jack witnessed the beautiful complexity of hive communication. Thousands of Xeraxians stood in formation, their light patterns creating a massive living display that transferred information across the empire faster than any computer network. This is amazing, Jack whispered, watching the dance of lights. The Queen has been fighting to modernize our society, Kizeri said quietly. She wants more open relations with other species. Not everyone agrees. That evening, Jack got lost trying to find his way back to his quarters. He turned down a wrong corridor and heard voices from behind a partially open door. He paused when he heard his name. The human has weakened her, a harsh voice said. Queen Matriarch Vexnera believes the time to strike is now. The royal guards remain loyal. Another voice replied. We cannot move directly against Selvora. Then we eliminate the human first. Without her chosen mate, she will appear weak. The council will support Vexnera's challenge. Jack backed away slowly, his heart pounding. He needed to warn the Queen, but who could he trust? As he turned to leave, he bumped into a decorative crystal display. It fell with a loud crash. Someone is there, a voice called out. Jack ran, taking random turns through the palace corridors. He could hear the heavy footsteps of Xeraxians behind him. Finally, he spotted a familiar doorway and ducked inside, finding himself in a small garden room. He pressed himself against the wall, trying to control his breathing. The footsteps passed by outside. Hiding is unnecessary, a familiar voice said. They are gone. Jack nearly jumped out of his skin. Queen Selvora sat in the center of the garden, her lights dimmed to a soft glow. You heard something that troubled you, she said. It wasn't a question. Your life may be in danger, Jack said, still catching his breath. Because of me. Queen Selvora's light patterns remained calm despite Jack's warning. I have known about the threat for some time. You knew. Jack moved closer, his voice low. Why didn't you tell me? I did not wish to concern you with our internal politics. The Queen's upper arms made a gentle motion. But now you have discovered it yourself. I heard them talking about someone named Vexnera. They plan to eliminate me first, then challenge you. The Queen's lights flickered briefly with anger. Queen Matriarch Vexnera leads our southern hive clusters. She has opposed my modernization efforts for years. Jack paced the small garden. We need to tell Captain Mitchell. The human delegation can help. How would your people assist in a Xeraxian matter? The Queen asked, curious. Humans might not have your physical strength or biological-like communication, but we're good at solving problems in unexpected ways. Jack smiled slightly. It's kind of our specialty. The next morning, Jack met secretly with his crewmates in the diplomatic wing. Greg listened with narrowed eyes as Jack explained the situation. Classic power struggle, Greg said when Jack finished. They see you as the weak point. Captain Mitchell frowned. This could turn violent. I should evacuate the diplomatic team. If you leave now, it will look like Earth abandoned the Queen, Jack argued. We could help stop this plot. Lisa nodded. I've been monitoring Xeraxian communications. There's definitely something happening. I've picked up unusual message patterns between the palace and the southern hives. Can you decode them? Jack asked. Working on it. Lisa pulled out her tablet. Their light-based language is complex, but I've made progress mapping the patterns. Samantha leaned forward. If we help the Queen maintain power, it strengthens our position for future negotiations. Captain Mitchell considered this. What do you need from us, Jack? Over the next 2 days, the team worked together. Greg taught Jack basic self-defense against Xeraxian fighting techniques, while Lisa decoded intercepted communications. They're planning to act during tomorrow's royal procession, Lisa reported. When the Queen visits the central hive structure, they developed a plan. The human delegation would attend the procession as honored guests, positioning themselves strategically among the crowd. The procession began at midday. Queen Selvora walked the elevated pathway that connected the royal palace to the central hive, Jack at her side. Thousands of Xeraxians lined the route, their lights creating waves of color. Jack scanned the crowd nervously. Greg and the security team were hidden among the diplomatic observers. Lisa monitored communications from a discreet position. Halfway across the pathway, Jack spotted a subtle movement. A Xeraxian with unusually dark markings moved against the crowd flow, climbing toward a higher position. There, Jack pointed. Before anyone could react, the Xeraxian raised what looked like a crystalline weapon. It began to glow with intense energy. Jack didn't think. He lunged forward, pushing Queen Selvora aside as a beam of energy cut through the air where she had been standing. The beam struck Jack's shoulder, sending searing pain through his body. He fell to the ground as chaos erupted around them. Royal guards swarmed the area while the crowd scattered in panic. Through blurry vision, Jack saw Greg tackle the assassin, the weapon skittering across the pathway. The Queen's massive form leaned over him, her lights pulsing with concern. The human saved the Queen. Voices called out across the gathering. Jack tried to speak but couldn't form words. The pain was overwhelming. Do not move, Queen Selvora commanded. My personal medical team approaches. As consciousness slipped away, Jack heard the Queen speak to Captain Mitchell. Can your human medicine help him? Her voice sounded worried. Yes, Mitchell replied firmly. We have technology that can treat this wound. The last thing Jack saw before darkness took him was the Queen's lights shifting to a color he had never seen before, a deep violet that seemed to reach out toward him. Jack woke up slowly, his body feeling heavy. A soft blue light filled the room. He was in the medical bay of the Oran, surrounded by familiar human technology. His shoulder was wrapped in a healing bandage that glowed faintly. Welcome back, Dr. Diane Harris said, checking his vital signs. You've been unconscious for 2 days. The Queen? Jack asked, his voice rough. She's fine, thanks to you. Captain Mitchell walked in, looking tired but relieved. Your actions saved her life and might have prevented a civil war. Jack tried to sit up but winced at the pain. What happened after I was hit? The royal guards captured the assassin and several other conspirators. The Queen has been personally overseeing the investigation. Mitchell smiled slightly. She's also been checking on you every 6 hours. She came here. To the ship. Yes. Quite unprecedented. Mitchell looked impressed. The Queen has never left the palace to visit a foreign vessel before. As if summoned by their conversation, the door slid open. Queen Selvora had to duck her massive form to enter the medical bay, her lights shifting to gentle blue tones when she saw Jack awake. "You have recovered," she said, her voice softened by genuine relief. "Thanks to our medical technology," Jack replied. The Queen studied the equipment with interest. "Your healing methods are remarkable. My scientists wish to learn more." "I'm sure we could arrange an exchange of medical knowledge," Mitchell suggested. After the captain and doctor left them alone, the Queen moved closer to Jack's bed. "Your willingness to risk your life has changed many opinions among my people. Even some who opposed our connection now speak of human courage." Jack smiled weakly. "I didn't think about politics. I just didn't want you to get hurt." The Queen's lights rippled with what Jack now recognized as emotion. "There is something I must tell you. Zyrexian queens can form special connections with their chosen mates, a type of psychic bond." "Like telepathy?" Jack asked, surprised. "Not exactly. More like emotional resonance." Her lights dimmed slightly. "I believe such a connection has begun to form between us, despite our different biology." Jack thought about the strange dreams he'd had while unconscious. Dreams filled with colors and emotions that didn't feel entirely his own. "Is that even possible?" he asked. "It should not be, yet it is happening." The Queen's upper arms made a gesture of uncertainty. "This may be why Vexnera feared our connection so deeply." Over the next few days, as Jack recovered, he worked with Samantha to design a cultural exchange program between humans and Zyrexians. Using his unique position, he proposed ideas that would respect Zyrexian traditions while introducing new concepts. "We need a formal ceremony," Jack told the Queen during one of their planning sessions. "Something that honors your traditions but establishes new precedents for interspecies relationships." The Queen's lights brightened with interest. "What do you suggest?" "A public declaration that combines elements of both cultures. It would show that different species can work together without either losing their identity." The idea spread quickly through the royal court. The progressive faction that supported the Queen gained popular support as details of the assassination plot became public. Stories of Jack's bravery circulated throughout the hives. Earth Command sent formal approval for an alliance proposal that Jack had helped draft. It would open trade routes and technology exchanges between humans and Zyrexians. Everything was proceeding smoothly until alarms blared through the palace one evening. Jack rushed to the command center to find the Queen surrounded by agitated guards. "Queen Matriarch Vexnera has launched an attack on the palace," Kazari explained urgently. "Her forces have breached the outer defenses." Jack looked at the tactical displays showing enemy positions. "It's her final desperate move," he said. "She knows she's losing support." The Queen turned to Jack. "We must protect what we have built together." The palace shook as explosions hit the outer walls. Jack stood next to Queen Excelvora in the command center, watching as royal guards rushed to defend key positions. "We need to coordinate with the human security team," Jack suggested quickly. "Gray and his people have weapons that the rebels won't expect." The Queen nodded. "Do what you must." Jack contacted the ORN. Captain Mitchell responded immediately. "We've detected the attack. What do you need?" "Non-lethal defensive support," Jack answered. "We want to stop Vexnera, not start a war." Within minutes, Gray and his security team arrived with sonic disruptors and stun grenades developed for dealing with alien physiology. They positioned themselves alongside loyal Zyrexian guards at strategic points. The palace defenses held against the first wave of attackers, but Vexnera's forces regrouped and pressed harder against the eastern entrance. "She's trying to reach the royal chambers," the Queen said, her lights flashing with concern. "If she claims the royal nest, others will support her challenge." Jack studied the tactical display, then had an idea. "I know how Zyrexians think in groups, but humans are good at unpredictable actions. What if we use that?" Instead of meeting the attackers head-on, Jack suggested a plan that mixed human tactics with Zyrexian abilities. The royal guards used their light communication to coordinate perfectly while the human team created diversions and unexpected movements. The combined strategy confused Vexnera's forces. When the rebel queen finally broke through to the central hall, she found herself surrounded by loyal guards and human security officers. "Surrender, Vexnera," Queen Selvora commanded, her massive form glowing with authority. The rebel queen hissed, her lights flashing angry red patterns. "You betray our ways by bonding with an alien." Jack stepped forward. "Your people respect strength and wisdom. The queen has shown both by looking beyond old traditions to build something better. A human dares speak to me." Vexnera turned her rage toward Jack. "Yes," Jack said calmly, "because I'd learned enough about your culture to understand what really matters to Zeraxians, the future of the hive." Something in Jack's words caused Vexnera's guards to hesitate. Their light patterns shifted as they communicated silently among themselves. Queen Selvora seized the moment. "I offer mercy, Vexnera. Surrender your weapons and return to your hive with honor intact." This offer of peace rather than destruction shocked everyone. Traditional Zeraxian law demanded the execution of failed challengers. Slowly, Vexnera lowered her weapons. "You change our oldest laws. I adapt them for a new age," the queen replied, "as we must all adapt to survive in a bigger universe." The rebellion ended that day. In the following weeks, Jack found himself working as an official ambassador between Earth and the Zeraxian Empire. Earth Command recognized the unique opportunity of having a human with special status in the hive. 1 month after the attack, Jack stood with Queen Selvora on a high balcony overlooking the capital city. The 3 moons shone brightly overhead, and celebration lights glittered across the landscape. "The bonding ceremony is tomorrow," the queen said softly. "Are you certain this is what you wish?" Jack looked up at her towering form, seeing beauty in the patterns of her exoskeleton that he couldn't have understood when he first arrived. "I never expected to find my place on another world," he said. "But somehow, a simple hug led to understanding beyond anything I imagined." The queen's lights shifted to the deep violet color that Jack now knew represented her feelings for him. His own emotions seemed to echo hers in a way that science couldn't fully explain. "Our differences make us stronger together," she said. "That will be the foundation of our alliance." Below them, the first diplomatic fleet from Earth appeared in the night sky, bringing more human ambassadors to other alien worlds. News of Jack and Selvora's successful alliance had inspired similar initiatives across the galaxy. Jack reached out his hand, and one of the Queen's lower arms gently took it. Human and Zeraxian, different in almost every way, yet finding connection that transcended biology. All because of one unexpected hug.